Hello and welcome back to Thread Spinner Design Sessions. I'm
That's
Luke.
right. That's right. I'm Ollie. Hi.
Yeah. Back, not behind the $3 paywall one more time.
Yeah, I forgot that we were releasing this as $1, and Crystal reminded me, and I was like, oh, we gotta fucking record that then.
Yeah. And we can't fuck around. We gotta
We must find out.
That's right.
No more fucking around. Only finding out.
I was gonna say we can't shit talk the free listeners on here, then I thought, don't be mean.
Don't be mean.
Don't imply that we're shit talking them. We're not.
We don't.
If you need to satisfy your anxiety that we're not talking about you behind your back, consider subscribing.
Now, you were making fun of me the other day for not being a very good salesman, I must say.
I think I just did a great sales strategy.
We're gonna make a cool game.
That's so true.
Yeah, that's the plan here today. Well, we're gonna make we're gonna start talking about making one piece of a cool game.
Yeah, exactly. It is something that because we have been in the maintenance and bug fixing basically mode of EIDOLON for so long at this point, I forgot a thing. When you're building a game from the ground up, the tricky part is that it's a holistic thing. So yes, you need to work on it one piece at a time, because how else do you get anything done? But it's this is going to tie into every other system, so everything we make here is contingent on what we end up making elsewhere, and it's sort of a tricky needle to thread, if you will.
You know what? I will. Thank you.
Yeah,
I think it's fine. We've done it once. We could do it again.
Oh, sure. I'm just, it's just an odd spot to be in. You gotta start here, but also most of the things you start with will be radically changed or removed by the time you're done,
Yeah, we're just, we're gonna make a thing, and then we're gonna make another thing, and then look at the first thing and be like, okay, well, how do we tie this back into this? And then
right, how do these talk to each other? Right,
go and do that 25 more times.
We did have somebody write in and say that we were using the word thread spinner interchangeably with weaving a tapestry, and those aren't the same thing. And to that I say, you're right, but we're doing both.
Yeah, and it's pronounced EIDOLON, so I mean, I would know it's not, so...
No, I'll defend it on a deep... Listen, the thread spinners spin threads, which the threaded then weave into tapestries. It all fits together.
That's true. It's true.
We're doing both.
We're doing both. There's a lot going on here, okay?
Yeah.
It's a complicated process.
And we know a lot about textile production.
That's right, well...
Uh-huh.
A side note, stop bringing up the chess thing, please.
Okay, yes. It's funny when I hassle Molly about it. But when everybody is no, it's actually a good idea, I hear you. Listen, I hear you, I see you. We've decided we're not doing it. We need to move. We all need to collectively move on.
We gotta keep going, man. We have new things to discover, okay?
Sometimes I like to be annoying on purpose as a bit at my friends, and sometimes I don't think about how I'm modeling behavior for other people to be annoying.
Well, it's because you and I have been doing this forever. You're allowed to do this to me.
No, sure. But then people, and I'm not ascribing any kind of, anything. People want to get in on the joke. I get it. Yes, I've done it. But, when one person is annoying you on purpose versus, 20, it's a different vibe.
It's a little bit of a different vibe. I feel like I'm fighting for my life out here sometimes.
And to be fair, plenty of people are not annoying you on purpose. Plenty of people are wait, I think this is a good idea, actually.
This is a cool thing. It is a cool thing.
The argument has never been that it's not a good idea.
Yeah. We're trying to sell you a tabletop game. It's hard to sell people tabletop games when you say you need to buy a tarot deck and a chess set to play my tabletop game.
Right, and, again, in my mind, I'm like, what do you mean? Everyone has a chess set in their closet.
I do not have a chess set. I do not own a chess set.
That just I actually don't think I do either.
Yeah!
parents that are like right around the block from me have like 2 or 3.
And yet you have 0. And your parents are not going to purchase this game.
I could snag one from them, though.
Well, yeah, but it still requires you to interact with your family, which I'm not going to suggest you do.
If I burned all my tarot cards right now, I could get a chess set faster than I can get a tarot deck. But, see, I'm dragging myself into this again because it's hard to resist the call to annoy you with this.
Anyway, we're not doing the chess thing. Please stop talking about it. You can talk about it, just stop trying to justify it, okay? You can say the chess thing is cool. It is cool. But it's cool, not going to be in this game, okay? Okay.
Yeah, listen.
It's probably not going to be in the next game either.
I mean, listen, let's not... hold on. Let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Unless we get mad rich off this one, I don't think we are going to be able to command the power necessary to say, hey, bring a chess game or a chessboard. That you will need to remember and keep track of the current board state. And also make.
You heard it here first. If you want Thread Spinner 2E to have a chess system, we need to sell 1 million copies.
Yes, that much is yes. So, if you guys make Luke and I rich,
yes,
we will make the chess rules. But until that happens,
there's probably a way to do it where that's the only resolution mechanic in an RPG, but I'm not.
Yeah, we're not doing that today. We saw that cool. Buchanan made that cool art for that blackjack game. It looked cool as fuck.
Yeah, Hit. Yeah, I need to buy that. I love the basic idea of it is a heist-based RPG.
Yeah,
that uses blackjack as a resolution system. That is immediately such a good, marrying theme to mechanics thing.
Yeah,
of,
that kicks ass.
A game where you push your luck until you fuck up or you win big, and it's tied to heisting? Yes, that's so good.
That's the shit right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, so clearly people are playing in this space, you know?
Right. I would say, speaking of people playing in this space, lots of people have sent in RPGs and map-making games for us to look at. I have not had the chance to look at all of them. I don't know if you've looked at any of them.
I have not had a chance to, no.
Yeah. I only looked at a couple. His Majesty the Worm, when I first was reading the elevator pitch, where I was like, oh no, somebody might have made Thread Spinner already.
They didn't.
No way. Thankfully, they did not. It is... if you were to sum both their games up into 2 paragraphs, they sound like the same exact game, but they're very different when you look at all the details of it.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Their resolution system uses all the minor arcana shuffled together, and your stats are the 4 minors, and it's okay, you're attacking, draw swords for me, and you draw a card off the top, take the number of that card, add your sword stat, and that's your draw.
That's your draw, yeah.
And if you, hit a certain number, that's a success. If the card is also a swords card, that's, a big success.
This is me being a little bit of a bitch when I say this, but that just sounds like dice with extra work.
It sounds a little bit like dice with extra work, yeah. And then the GM has the major arcana deck that they draw basically for their, GM moves.
Yeah, and that's fine.
Yeah.
Not what we're doing, but cool.
And then they also have a map making system that uses the minor arcana, and that's where I was like, uh-oh.
Yeah.
But it is very the GM does it by themselves to build the map in private.
I see.
They went through the entire deck and assigned, it's for building a city specifically, and they assigned a different city district to every single minor arcana card, so you're
wow.
drawing cards and laying them out on the table to make the rough layout of your city, and then you draw a map based on that.
That's neat.
Yes.
But also sounds really space consuming. It seems logistically difficult.
Well, and again, it's what the GM is doing as prep, right? They're at their kitchen table the week before the session, building out the city and then drawing up a map to bring to the actual session.
Yeah. Well, I will say, part of the thing that I am always thinking about, I don't really have a dining room table, you know?
Sure.
I mostly eat at my desk. I do not have a table where I'm sitting down to eat meals most of the time. Which I'm fine with. I'm living my best life, okay? Nobody can judge me for this. I don't want to hear it.
Sure.
I've
been to your house. You'll have, like, a table.
Yeah, there's, like, it's not... Yeah, I know, but we don't have that many chairs and shit. We could buy stuff, okay? Listen. But I already have arrived at a solution I'm okay with, so
Sure.
Anyway.
Anyway. Yeah, I was messing around just sort of like... Because we talked about the idea, we both really like the visual in our head that the game works like, say, Blueprints, where you have your array of tarot cards, and then you're drawing them and laying them out and making a grid of cards on your table that is the map. And I tried that, and you need a big fucking table for that to make any sense.
That's the thing. The thing is, tarot cards are large cards to start with. They are like... I'm not going to say they're twice as big as, like, a playing card, but it's probably pretty close to that, yeah.
Yeah.
It's closer to 2 than 1.
Even playing cards would eat up space fast doing that, you know?
Yes. Yeah, big games of, playing Commander requires a decent-sized table.
Yeah. Like, even just having the array of decks we talked about already takes up a lot of room. Basically takes up my entire free desk space. And then, I would need, like, a whole second table to do the map on.
Yeah.
So, I think that's not really a workable solution, even though the aesthetics of it is so good.
The aesthetic of it is great.
Yeah.
I have kind of become really enamored with the, Excel spreadsheet version of this myself.
Yeah.
I really like it as, like, an easy way to make the game digital,
Yeah, we talked about this a little bit over the past 2 weeks, which is that, we are pretty much only ever going to play this game in a remote format. Yes. And you kind of made the case, like, why have the pretense of making it, like, first and foremost friendly for a literal tabletop? Why not optimize it for the way we're going to play it? And I think there is some logic to that. I do kind of want it to make sense in an analog format too, but I hear where you're coming from,
I think the thing is, since we as a group are so spread out, it's not like we can easily test this as an in-person thing anyway. Like,
right, in 5 years, we have never run an in-person session of EIDOLON.
Right. All the testing we're gonna do is gonna be digital. I think we need to be thinking about the digital version of this game first. And I will say, I don't think it would probably be naive of me to say that most tabletop games play remotely, but a lot of times there is at least one player who is remote, Like, a lot of people do have somebody who moved out of state or something from their original group who still call in,
right?
And play the game that way. So I think that focusing on this as a digital first thing is easier, one, for us, and 2, is friendlier than we think it is, despite the fact that it's really satisfying to have a tactile, like, physical object to play with.
Well, I would say, and we're kind of going backwards through these ideas here. If you did want to do this, your Excel spreadsheet idea on a tabletop, like, they sell 1-inch graph paper,
Yeah,
people already have to buy that to make, like, D&D maps.
Yeah.
I think you could do that in a similar way.
I had a buddy who had a pretty large, it was kind of like a tablecloth size graph paper, but it was laminated. So we would dry erase marker over it with, like, the boundaries and shit of various dungeons and things. It was sick as hell.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like the vibe.
Yeah. So one thing I really want to focus on today is I think we both have lots of, like, neither of us draw, but, I've tried and failed to learn how to draw a few times. And something you run into very quickly is, like, you have an image in your head, and then you go to draw it, and you're like, wait, I don't actually know how all the parts go together to, like, make the image in my brain. And I can see it in my head, and yet it doesn't come out on paper because I haven't thought about, like, the actual layout of it.
Yeah.
And I think we both have an image in our head of what this looks like as you play it that's pretty aligned, but I think we really need to, like, work out what this actually looks like moment to moment you're playing this game. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure.
And we talked about, I forget if we said this on the recording or not, that we are going to focus on the exploration mechanic today, because that is the new thing that we're adding from EIDOLON.
Yeah, that's the new thing, and I think it's probably, like, the most important part of it. If this doesn't work, the game doesn't work, I don't think.
I think that's fair to say. Yeah. So I just scribbled down a list of questions we need to get through to like get a starting point here. First one I've got here is, what does the map look like? Is it a grid, a layout of cards, a collaboratively drawn map? I think we basically just answered it. It's a grid, right?
Yeah, it's a grid. I think we're working with four-directional grid, not an octagonal grid.
Yeah. So I think basically the idea we have in mind is you would have a starting point that gets defined in some way we can come back to later, and then maybe you take turns. One person says, okay, I want to move north. And they draw a card to define what the grid square to the north is.
Yes.
Right? And exactly what that process looks like we'll flesh out as we go here, but that's the basic idea. And then you say, okay, I want to go west. You fill out that one, and you keep going to fill it in. Presumably you can backtrack, right?
Yeah, for sure. I don't think you would redraw. Do you want to redraw cards to backtrack, or do you think that is a little too burdensome?
Well, that's kind of... That is what I was opening the floor up to think about.
So I think my view on this is, I think it is a cool idea to draw new cards when you backtrack. However, I do also think that makes it more difficult to return to perhaps NPCs that were living on XYZ square if suddenly their home has changed, or maybe that's an interesting bit that we should work with. But there is like something to be considered for the when a what's the word for, not the thread spinner, but the threaded. When a threaded enters an area, right? I think the way I want to think about it is that has an effect that solidifies the area until that thread is cut, you know?
Totally. Yeah.
So
what I was thinking, if we do it at all, I think you wouldn't replace the card you drew before. It would be the just because, hey, let's get the theming in here. The word I've been thinking of is stitching. You could stitch an additional card onto that grid square to add more detail to it.
Yes, I like that. So it
wouldn't be that you're replacing it. It's like, Hollow. If you were doing this with Hollow Knight, right? You go back to the Forgotten Crossroads. You stitch a card to make it the Infected Crossroads. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yes, or maybe 100%. It's not even you change it. It's more like, oh, this thing we didn't talk about before is like there now. Like, hey, there's, you go back to Firelink Shrine and you stitch in that there's a catacomb underneath of it, right?
Yes. How has it changed since you were last here, or what is something that you missed that you didn't talk about?
Because I guess that's worth thinking about for a moment here, and this is not the most important thing, but we're on a 2D grid. How do we define elevation? For instance, if I want to go down, again, if I'm modeling the Lordran with this system, I'm in Firelink Shrine, I can go down a little bit to get to the catacombs, I can go down a lot to get to New Londo, I can go down really far to get down to the Kiln of the First Flame, you know what I mean?
Right.
And that's... In a cardinal direction sense, those are all in the same square. You know what I mean?
Wisely. Different tab on a Excel spreadsheet.
Yeah, I think what you could do at that point is this stitching idea, right?
Yeah, for sure.
And probably that means also you could probably stitch a card. Your turn, I don't want to move. I want to stitch a card where I am, you know?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. So one thing I was thinking about, number one, I think the starting point on most maps is probably the Thread Spinners Guild.
I think that makes sense at the beginning of a campaign. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think it doesn't have to be the center of your map. In my mind, it is the center of your map.
Sure. I think it just depends on how your map grows from there, you know?
Yeah. Yes, absolutely. And then you pick a direction and you set off. I think we could assign, like, types of biomes to different suits. Maybe wands is, like, foresty, wooded area, things like that. Swords could be battlefields or whatever. Cups could be water of some kind, swamps, oceans, rivers, things like that. And whatever coins is cities, maybe.
Yeah.
Settlements of various sizes.
Yeah, I think you're getting into some of the other questions I've got. Well, the next two are, how do the minor arcana cards create a place, and what do the 4 suits represent?
Right, of course. Well, foolish.
Because, yeah, I think we both like, because again, it's that intuitive idea. Well, obviously, you split the suits out, you draw from different suits to get different ideas, right?
Yeah.
For what you do. So again, going back to His Majesty the Worm, they literally assign a specific thing to each card. It's basically what I was saying. I forget if that was on recording or before we started, of having the very long table that you can consult for anything, right?
That was before recording. That was crazy.
Yeah, I was talking about how before we ever started on this, I, like, over a year ago was like, what if I made a 5,000 page long table of that gave a bespoke location for every spread of 3 major arcana cards. And then I did not do that because I realized, wait a second, I don't know how the game works. How can I write these in a way that would make sense?
Right.
That wouldn't just be a bunch of wasted effort. I'll write all these, and they'll be like, we can't use any of this, stupid.
You know, it's okay.
But yeah, that is very much the idea His Majesty the Worm goes with. I kind of want to go something bigger picture, more abstracted, and more room for the players to come up with things.
Yes.
And I also don't want to do the work of giving, like, 50 some odd different, things to have here, right?
Yeah, it's a fucking pain in the ass.
So my feeling is that what you would do is each suit has a broad idea of representation, and then each number modifies it in some way.
Yeah.
So that you're basically coming up with a system where you can create lots of different possibilities out of a small number of ideas, right? Like, just through, like, combinatronics, Yeah. So, yeah, I think part of the tricky thing, too, what you were saying was of, like, well, wands would be forests, whatever. We do have to bear in mind, however we define these, have to work in lots and lots of different contexts.
Yeah, plenty of different
settings. You know what I mean?
No, for sure.
Yeah, like, if I'm exploring the house in blueprints, I have to be able, all 4 cards have to make as much sense as if I am wandering the Final Fantasy VII overworld map,
Yeah, and then you can also flavor them as, like, natural versus industrial versus, like, wasteland versus, we have a lot of options to work with here.
Yeah. So
I think, first and foremost, I am thinking of this in the fantasy sense because, totally. that is the source material we're working with here.
Right, but even in the fantasy sense, it has to work for, we're exploring the world map versus we are exploring the crime district of Fantasy City,
Yep. Yeah, absolutely. But I think we can talk about that in different levels of, like, zoom, right?
Yes. Yeah, and that is something else I've got listed here, which that is something somebody brought up last time we talked about when we were discussing whether we could cut polarities altogether. One counter I came up with to that was, well, for instance, when you're investigating, sometimes it is hard to know how to work the forecast into the investigation results.
Yes.
Somebody in the Discord, and apologies, I forgot to mark down your name, came with the very, very smart suggestion. Why would you use the major arcana for investigation? Why would not you use the exploration mechanics for investigation?
So true, dude.
And that makes so much sense.
Yeah. Sometimes you might need to investigate more specifically than that, but yeah.
Well, I think when you get into the levels of zoom, you simply zoom down to a deeper layer.
Yeah.
If you want to investigate more specifics,
Yeah.
Okay. So we need 4 very broad ideas. For just a starting point, I'll put some, let's see, 4 suits, wands, wilderness. I'll just put wilderness. That's enough for now.
Yeah, that's enough for right now.
Coins. Like,
I think coins is like civilization or industrial.
Yeah. I'll put that for now. Swords, danger.
Yeah, danger, battlefields, planes.
Cups,
This is water to me. This is oceans.
Water.
Water.
I should think of a word that encompassed both like ocean and swamp, and water's good enough for the moment.
Water pretty much will do you.
Water pretty much will do you. Because that's the thing. Like, if say we get on a boat and we're exploring the ocean, well, I'm not going to draw cups every single card. You know what I mean?
Yeah. No.
So that's like, what does drawing water when I'm already on the ocean represent? You know what I mean?
I think. Yes. Yeah. We got to think about this stuff.
Yeah. It's that it is, a different version of something we ran into with Eidolon, where when you're using these very big archetypes that are meant to cover every possibility, you have to be very careful at how you define them so they make sense in every context,
Yeah. I think the thing I'm thinking about, if you get on a boat, I think that's a different thing than like exploring on foot, right? Like you are probably going across a wide stretch of area to a destination. Sure. And you would maybe not completely define all that territory.
Sure, that makes sense.
So with like vehicular travel, this is so not what.
Yeah, that is it's right like now. A fourth order thing to think about for sure. But hey, it's good to at least have those thoughts now. So I'm playing Thread Spinner with my bros. I got my bowl of Cheetos. I got my graph paper in front of me. I got my tarot cards laid out on the table. It's my turn. Right. I've got, 4 decks in front of me. We're exploring. I say, okay, I want to go west. How do I decide what deck I draw from?
Do you think it's just your own choice? What do you think is there? Or do you... Perhaps each... The other thing I was thinking of is, like, does each playbook only have access to 3 out of the 4 decks?
Possibly.
Yeah, so, like, it has to be collaborative to get access to everything.
Right.
So...
I could see that.
Where's our guys, our types of guy? Perhaps a hero... would have wilderness, civilization, and swords, but, the hero might not know shit about oceans or water or anything like that.
Yeah.
Or the Master Thief, is, like, not a wilderness type of guy,
Right.
Really good in the city, really good in danger, really good on the water, maybe they're, like, a pirate or some shit like that, but, like, the wilderness is not their place,
Right.
What is there to steal in the wild?
Sure, I see what you're saying. But at the same time, perhaps, I've got my bandit hideout in the woods, you know?
Sure.
But
is
I'm
that
willing,
not civilization?
Okay, I see that. I'm putting that down as an idea for now. We can always change it later, but I think it's a thought worth holding in our heads for a while.
Yeah.
And again, one of those things that might not make sense once we define other rules of the game. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And then also, I think this leads to, like, hey, can I have this other person in my party stitch something that they have access to that I don't onto this like same spot? Right. And it encourages you to ask, your fellow players to dive in with you.
Yeah. Okay. But so going back to the question though, okay, so I'm sitting at the table, it's my turn.
Yeah.
I can't pick swords because of my class. Do I just get to pick any of the other 3?
I'm leaning that way. Yeah, I don't see why that wouldn't be the way to do it.
Okay, so first thought is, if swords represent danger, there should be an incentive to pick them then, right? Because why would I want that then?
Yes, definitely.
And I think this is more, and again, I'm beating at these ideas to try to form them. Probably danger should not be a keyword here because there should be danger in any of
There's
these,
danger
right?
everywhere. Yeah, so let's remove danger specifically from swords here. But I think battlefields and plains, open areas, is a decent way to think about it.
Yeah, maybe if we broaden it out for a very broad concept of what a courtroom is a battlefield, A
courtroom is a battlefield. That's true.
Master and Commander, the oceans are battlefields.
The oceans are now battlefields. Confirmed.
Like you're mapping out like a busy market street in a city.
Yeah.
There's a married couple having a fight. That square is a battlefield.
That square is a battlefield right now.
Yeah. like a site of conflict, not necessarily literally like a blood-stained like pile of corpses that are all like have swords sticking out of them, you know?
Okay. Yeah.
But it certainly can be that.
I've added open area to swords because in my mind, coins civilization means that there is a lot of stuff around, and same with like wilderness. There's tall grass, trees, things of that nature, whereas swords is probably something that has been touched by human hands or does not grow a lot of stuff.
And again, this is Socrates is here to challenge your game design, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'm in the outskirts of town in like a rural farming area. Is that civilization? Because it's not dense, but it's not wilderness.
It's not wilderness.
It's not really an open area because there's like buildings around.
I think it's civilization, yeah.
Okay. I'm just saying because you said in your mind civilization means like densely, lots of stuff around.
Yeah, I guess not necessarily lots of stuff. I mean it, I guess, in the sense of, like, sight lines. How far can you see?
Yeah,
like,
okay.
You can't see super far in, like, a forest or the wilderness. This is just the brain space I'm working with. But,
sure.
In civilization, there's probably lots of buildings, or at least some buildings that are obstructing your vision. In this way, I'm gonna add, like, mountains to the wilderness thing. Mountainous.
Yeah.
Because that's kind of the same idea that I'm working on here.
Yeah. What if... So I'm just throwing this out here. Instead of having, like, wilderness and water as two of them, what if wands was, like spiritually powerful places, right? Like an enchanted grove, an ancient temple, that kind of... Whereas cups is, like... just the untamed, like the fat of the land, the wilderness, you know, it's the rivers full of fish, it's the forests full of deer. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I'm moving this shit down.
Yeah.
And then, magically infused areas, perhaps.
Yeah.
Is a decent
maybe
way
magically / spiritually.
Yeah.
Like, there's magic shit, or there's, like, the gods are around, you know, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
Like, Anor Londo is very, like, wand / coins, you know?
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Whereas, like, New Londo is, like, coins / swords.
Yes. Yeah, see? Maybe you have to draw two types of thing to put on any given, like, square.
I think those would be cases of, like...
Or maybe you could choose to do that.
Well, I was going to say, what I did was I started with coins to make a city, and then I stitched a wand onto it, you know?
Yeah. I had the Blade Magician come in and add a little bit of spice to it.
Right. And then, like, a swords got stitched to it once we killed, what's-her-name, and made it Dark Anor Londo.
Yeah. Now we're cooking.
Yeah. Guinevere, that's her name.
Guinevere. I started a new game of Dark Souls. I am approaching that very quickly.
Yeah, how's that treating you?
That game is clunky as hell. I love it.
Yeah.
It did make me I got to Anor Londo, and it really gave me a new appreciation for I was thinking about it in comparison to, like, Elden Ring, because Anor Londo and what's it called? Leyndell? Is that the city? The capital?
Yes. Yeah.
They're kind of the same idea, right? Like,
totally.
They're totally the same place. But when you think about Anor Londo, it feels so big, but it's functionally like 3 buildings. Totally.
Yeah, it's one street, the church, and the castle.
Yeah. So I was thinking about how, like, Leyndell feels like the natural conclusion if you keep building that out, right? But it's really interesting that, like, Anor Londo still feels that big, and part of it is that intro cutscene where you can see that city goes on for miles, right?
Totally.
And then you get your little part of it that you are inspecting and investigating. But it's just really cool to you can see the progression of how we get from here to there.
Yeah.
But I think it's really impressive how big Anne Orlando feels, even though it is kind of a small zone.
It's something I think about a lot with older games, the way that, like, a small game that manages to imply scale can often feel a lot bigger than an actually big game.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah, 100%.
Like, I think about this a lot with, like, when I played, like, the Phoenix Wright games on the Nintendo DS for the first time, and they have, like, those portrait sprites that take up the whole goddamn screen, but they're, like, sprites. They're made of pixels, and it feels like a magic trick is happening in front of you, right? That, like, this is not what this type of game is supposed to do and look like.
Yeah.
And obviously, I'm not saying Phoenix Wright, like, invented any of this. Obviously, visual novels are a whole thing.
Oh, for sure.
But, like, you compare that to, say, the modern Phoenix Wrights that are 3D models and have a moving camera, and it feels worse, even though it probably does have, like, more animations to it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like, those sprite animations are super limited. It's a couple frames per animation, but it implies so much motion and character that it doesn't feel that way. But when you make some parts of the world bigger, it makes every part that you didn't make as big as you could stand out and feel small.
Yeah. And, like, the big drawback to doing something like Landau is that when I'm there, I suddenly feel like I've seen it all.
Oh, what?
No, it is not the Olive Garden.
Okay.
They should put an Olive Garden. We should put an Olive Garden in the Thread Spinners Guild. No, it feels like you have... When you're done with that area, it feels like there's nothing left for you to find, right?
Sure.
When you leave Anne Orlando, I guess that's like that's the whole idea behind, like, you know, fill in maps but leave blank spaces. Like, there's other shit you never saw that, like, anything could be there. And, you know, probably not a ton is out there because the video game takes place in this thing. But, like...
Well, except that if you poke around enough, the entire city transforms on you.
Yeah.
And then I guess you get so does Lanedale, technically, but
But it's not the same.
I beat Dark Souls 1 multiple times before I ever even knew about Dark Anne Orlando, you know?
Yeah.
Like, if I just attack this NPC I have no reason to attack, it changes my entire understanding of the world. What other secrets might there be? And there aren't any. But the fact that there's that one already makes you think that way.
Yeah.
Yeah. Dark Souls is a cool game.
It's a cool fucking game.
We should make an RPG inspired by it.
Hey, I have great news. Great news for you.
No, I think the thing that sorry, we're just rambling about Souls games now, which is probably gonna happen a lot while we design.
It's gonna happen a lot here. You're gonna have to deal with it.
One way I think Elden Ring does manage to, like, exploit its scale to get at similar ideas, and I was talking about this on Blue Sky the other day. I fucking love how almost every NPC has, like, a double or a doppelganger somewhere else in the world.
Yeah.
And, like, there's usually not an explicit connection between them. It's more like, wait a second, weren't you over there? What? Why are you talking to me like we haven't met? Wait, I killed this boss already. Why are they here now? You know?
Right. Yes.
Like, the number one best example of that to me is the fucking girl in Limgrave who's like, will you go to the castle and help, you know, my father deal with the peasant rebellion?
Yes.
And first of all, the peasants are all, like, 12-foot tall mutants. Like, hold on a second. What happened? You didn't mention that part, lady.
Well, you should have known. You live here.
You do all that and you go back to her and she's dead. But then you progress the game and you beat Godric the Grafted? Whatever his name is.
Hey, he's your guy.
He's my guy. I think it's Godric the Grafted, yeah. And you get past him and there is a woman who looks identical to that other woman who has a different name but is played by the same actress and has, like, a different deal.
Yeah.
Like, wait a second. Hold on, your names are even very similar. Wait, and that girl wants, like, the Shabiri grapes for, like, the Frenzied Flame stuff. And it's like, wait, so was that other... Well, that other girl wasn't talking about that at all. But if you run into her dad later and kill him, he drops a Shabiri
drops a fucking grape.
So wait a second, hold on, whoa, what's going on here?
I think this is also kind of like the Dark Souls 2 thing, right? Like, everything is overlaid over each other, and it's kind of unclear, like, what happened where, when, why.
Or, like, you find Moog in the basement, in, like, the sewers of Lanedale, right? And you kill him. And, like, he's in, like, this little chapel. It's like, okay, that was Moog's deal. Cool. Weird I didn't get a great rune from him, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
But then you keep going, and you find a different, bigger, stronger Moog in a completely different place. And you do get a great rune from him, so it's like, wait, who was the other guy then?
Who was the other Moog? Yeah.
Good shit.
It's good. Yeah, it's good.
Because that game's so big, you might only ever find one Moog, you know?
Yeah.
I did not find the quote-unquote real Moog until a replay.
Oh, really? Yeah.
Yeah, I beat the first game without ever finding the first guy.
Yeah, that makes sense. Oh, the first,
real
yeah, the one in the sewers?
No, I found the one in the sewers. I didn't find, like, the big boy.
Oh. Yeah, you can just skip that, huh?
Yeah, it's easy to skip. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
So because one of the ways you get into it is by playing PvP, and I ain't doing that.
No. No, I am not.
Anyway.
Can I make one last complaint about Dark Souls?
Absolutely.
I'm playing that game. If you're online, like, invading people in 2025 in Dark Souls, I just... Like, what are you doing? Like, I have to imagine you have better shit to do with your time. Like, you
could be invading people in Dark Souls too.
You... Well, that's not what I mean, but yeah, you could.
You're right, you could be invading people in Dark Souls 3.
Dark Souls 3, yeah. I mean, listen, I get it. I get why people do it, but when I get invaded, I'm like, man, I'm not gonna win this. This is kind of fucking annoying now.
That's kind of how I've always felt about invasions. Yeah. Even if it's someone I feel like I could beat, I'm like, the netcode is so bad in these games.
Yes, the netcode is really bad. Anyway,
this is like 2010 Nintendo level netcode.
I was swinging at a guy and suddenly I was getting backstabbed. That's where we're at, okay?
I'm playing Dark Souls on the Wii U apparently.
Yeah, that's rough.
But yes, okay, so wands are like magical, spiritual places, coins, civilization, man-made, artifice, industrial.
Yeah.
Swords are places of conflict, and whatever that means. Cups are wilderness, watery places, mountainous places, forested places, just like... You can almost think of it in terms of, like, what is, like, the dominating force of all these places, right? Wands, It's, like, gods and spirits. Coins, it's humanity. Swords, it's, like, the concept of conflict. Cups, it's nature, right?
I think that is probably the best way to think about this. Because, like, with an idea that broad for each of these suits, you can make anything, right? Like,
totally. Yes.
This is the EIDOLON power line of map making.
Right. And again, if you're in, say, a dense fantasy city and you're getting a lot of cups cards, maybe you have to get a little creative in those situations, right? You can say, you can only have so many times like, well, that's the park, and I guess this is another park, but I think you can think that through, right? You can come up with other...
Like, Ravnica exists, right? Like...
Sure, I know what that is.
Magic the Gathering's Ravnica. It is an entire plane that is all city. But within that city, there are parts of the city that have been kind of, like, reclaimed by nature where some of the specific clans live. I
think you could even go abstract with it and be like, oh, I drew cups for this area, it's wilderness. It's wilderness in the sense that, like, it's become totally lawless. Like, it is, the city guard doesn't go down that street. It is just wild and untamed. And yes, it's still man-made technically, but, like... Relative to the rest of the city, it is the, hey, welcome to the jungle, right?
Yeah, welcome to the jungle, motherfucker. Yeah, that's Rakdos, yeah.
Yeah. I think that is a totally acceptable way to interpret that card in that context.
Yes. So, with that said, I think we should be using... The card you draw in the suit has to matter, so we have to figure out the way... each individual card matters, right? You had sent me the idea that, like, the number on the card you draw is how many words you get to use to describe the place.
I did send you that idea, and then I hated it immediately afterwards.
Okay, fair enough. Then we don't have to think about that. Then
because if I draw like a 9 of cups, I don't want to sit there with my hand like counting on my fingers. Is that 9 words? No, that's 10. Shit, fuck. I think that's too awkward.
So why don't we bracket it then? Why don't we say like 1 to 3 is 1, 4 through 6 is 2, 7 through 10 is 3, and then maybe the face cards, I guess face cards, you know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
Would be either 4 or you choose how many you would like to use.
Oh, sure. Okay. You just get to freestyle on a face card or an ace.
That's what I'm thinking.
Yeah, I could see that. I could also see
because ace would be 1.
Oh, ace would be 1. You're right. I could also see something along the lines of like face cards mean you also need to introduce a person here, right?
Oh, sure. Yeah, absolutely. There should be somebody in charge of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe, I like that a lot.
I like that basic idea. I'm just trying to think. You know, we're still in rough draft form. Let's just write it down.
Write it down.
Yeah, okay. So basically, if you draw a 1 through a 3, you just get one word to say what's here, and then the GM takes it from there?
Yes.
Okay. Plays card gets a set number of words to interpret the card.
Yes.
Square. 4 through 6.
Yeah, I just said 4 through 6 as a general.
Let's start there, and we can always adjust it. 7 through 9, 3 words.
Yeah, because there's no 10 in tarot, right? It just goes straight to Jack, I think.
Let me double check.
Where is my tarot deck?
No, there's a 10.
Okay. Then let's do 7 to 10, maybe? Or is that too many? No, it would be 10 and... But that's a lot of cards. Well, whatever. We can worry about the balance later. 10 and face cards, then.
Okay, yeah. 10 through king. Freestyle. Say whatever you want.
Yeah.
Must describe a character that exists in this square.
Yeah.
Now, the thing with the character that might bump up is if we're super zoomed in, say we're in a room that we're investigating.
Yeah.
You know, if I'm my classic example, I'm exploring an unoccupied office. I drew a face card. Hold on a second. Wait.
Well, then you start talking about a picture that's in there, or a painting, or...
Beautiful, love it. Okay, ship
it.
Yeah. Must describe a character who has a presence in this square. Maybe non-literal presence in this square.
Yeah.
Okay. And I think if we're limiting it to that small number of words, well, 1 inch grid paper is not much room to write in, but you could maybe scribble it in very small. Or you could just, like, have notes in the margins, right?
Yeah.
We can always, we can come back to, like, what this looks like on paper. And again, like you said, we can optimize for having an Excel spreadsheet where you can make it, put as much as you want into a square, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I think that works as a starting point for this, at the very least.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, so does that mean, then, when I draw from a deck, I just take the top card? I'm not drawing, like, multiple cards or anything like that?
That's what I'm wondering, because we have been talking about stats, but I guess until we, like, actually start building character stuff, I don't know if we know what that quite looks like yet.
Yeah.
But the way I was thinking about it is that... you might have a specific number of words in, like, your bank that describe your character and how they interact with the world, right? And then each of those, maybe we don't have as many colors as we were talking about before. Maybe we need to, like, cut it down to, like, 4 or 5 rather than 6 or 7, and associate them with the decks in a way. Because maybe you use, like a blue, your blue stat to get through cups. Maybe you use your red stat to get through swords. If we are having, like, those blocks,
Well, so let's circle back to that. And
I guess it's a different.
Yeah, I guess the first thing I'm thinking right now is I've just got the decks laid out. Again, it's my turn at the game night. Do I just take the top card off a deck and that's what I'm interpreting? I pick what deck I want and go?
Yes, and I think that solves the problem that you had talked about before, which was like, if you have a high number, because we have been talking about having higher numbers in the stats, like, if you have a 5 in cups, man, that's a lot of cards, right? Like,
right.
Or in whatever is associated with cups.
Right. Okay, so you're just top decking on these. I think that's fine. Yeah. Especially because you're getting the choice of which deck to pull from.
Yes.
Okay.
And perhaps there are moves that you get later that let you look at 2 or look at 3 and pick one, but
sure.
I think as a baseline, you could always draw one from each of those.
Perhaps some sort of ranger that can like explore the deck a little bit and decide what they want.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I get what you mean. Okay, moving on to the next question here, related to what you were starting to get into. We have discussed the idea of guardian cards that block each deck like Netrunner Ice. Why does this happen, and what does it mean? And how do you break through it?
Yeah.
So, is the idea then that, say, okay, I've just got these decks laid out in front of me, and I don't think they're unshuffled, so King of Cups.
Yeah.
So now that goes in front of, like, I interpret it, and now I set it as the quote-unquote ice blocking, coins.
Right. Or whatever it is. Yeah.
So if that's just happening, that just happens automatically. If there's an unfilled slot, the card you just drew fills that slot. Is that the idea?
Yeah, I would say so, yes. That is the basic idea I've been working on.
That's the idea I've been working off of, too. On a mechanics level, say, okay, now I've drawn from cups again. Do I replace what was there? Do I stack this on top of it? Or does it just get discarded because there's already a slot filled?
I wonder if it... My gut kind of says replace whatever is there.
I kind of like the idea of set it on top of it, and now that's the one that currently needs to be broken. Once it gets broken, it goes back to the bottom of its deck, but now what was ever below it is now there.
Is
again.
Still there.
So,
okay, yeah,
so say, the first thing I got was the King of Cups. That might be hard to break, but I can get a different card on there that's lower that can be easier to break,
Yeah, so that next time I want to draw that thing, I can, and then we'll have to worry about the king that's under there later.
And then going back to your thing about maybe there's, playbook moves that interact with this stuff, maybe I can look through the, stack of quote-unquote ice and, rearrange them to put what I want on top, right?
Yes.
Okay. So...
and then when one of those is defeated, you can put it back in at the bottom of the, the appropriate deck.
The appropriate deck, yeah. So I think, because the thing I am thinking about is if we're doing this paired opposites thing, which I pitched, does that not sort of nudge you towards picking from the same deck repeatedly because you're locking off one of the other decks, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Is that a bad thing? Because again, if you're mapping a city, maybe you want lots of coins cards, right?
Yeah, and then you're going to have to deal with the consequences of that later.
Yeah. So maybe you do want that? Maybe that's okay?
I think it might be okay. I think in a perfect world, maybe when you stack up a certain amount of ice in a suit, it causes something to happen, right? Like if you have I think we should incentivize players to want to break those barriers before they become something else. Just to encourage the push and pull.
So it's it's becoming negative world tendency.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna put this down. So, why is the cursor up there?
You're up there.
Play a minor card, then place it in front of its opposing deck. So,
or maybe you can put it on any available.
Put it anywhere.
Let's keep working on the paired opposites right now. And then, like, if we find that, like, it's more fun to spread it around, we can
spread
do
it
that.
around. Totally. All right, so play a minor card, then place it in front of its opposing deck as... what should this be called? Because we can't call it ice. I put Guardian card as a placeholder, but I don't love that name.
Luke?
Yeah.
They're fog doors.
God damn.
They're fog doors.
Fog gates, maybe?
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
And then we definitely have a move that's just lift the fog.
Traverse the fog.
Yeah, traverse the fog, lift the fog, whatever you want to call it. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So, if a deck is blocked by a fog gate, how do you get through a fog gate?
That is a great question. I think getting through a fog gate has to be like a basic move, right? Like,
okay.
Because everybody can do it. Anyone has to be able to. Did you say something?
I just said totally.
Oh, okay. Yeah, anybody has to be able to get through one.
Yes.
Perhaps,
but probably not if you can't draw from the deck that it's blocking, right?
Yes.
Like, I'm the Master Thief, I don't draw from, say...
What if
cups.
you can draw from 3, but only break 2?
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
We should just start putting traverse.
Okay, yeah. I do love Foggate here. I might, as we go and fill this out more, I might say we come up with, like,
we'll come up with our own...
Like,
yes, absolutely.
Yeah,
but this
don't
conveys the
fog.
idea we're working on.
Yeah. I definitely was talking about the fog in other ways, but,
Yeah.
Dark Souls inspired, not literally a Dark Souls game.
You could simply call it the Mists or what have you.
Yeah.
There's plenty of words we can use for this.
Look up some fucking, textile production thing.
Fog, thesaurus. Mist, smog, haze. Haze is good.
Haze would be good.
Not a ton for, like, nouns. Gloom.
But even then, I wouldn't even necessarily want to go with a synonym here. I would want, like, same concept, but we're going... It like, say, Elden Ring doesn't have fog. It has the golden light that you traverse, right?
Right, yeah.
But they're fucking fog gates.
They are fog gates. Yeah.
It's so funny how Demon Souls, the fog is, like, a plot element, and then the fog gates are in every other game, even though they're not.
It's just like, yep, this fog...
Like, the thing in Demon Souls is there's, like, cursed fog descending on the kingdom that's, like, swallowing it. It's getting lost in the fog. That's why you go through fog gates in that game.
Yeah, no, we don't do that.
And then Dark Souls is like,
nah.
They're good for loading zones.
It's true, though.
Yeah. Okay. So, play a minor card, then place it in front of its opposing deck as a fog gate. If a deck is blocked by a fog gate, you can traverse the fog.
Yeah.
Which means...
This is where... This is where we have to, like, start deciding whether or not numbers matter for this. And I think we've talked about it that they do, right?
I think numbers should matter in some way.
Yes.
But my gut is also very much lean, like, somehow narratively, like, give something over to the fog.
Sure. What does it take from you?
Like answer a question to break it, right?
Okay. Yeah.
But also, it has to be, like, something that feels like it's not just free, right?
I bet we could come up with a list of questions. This is something we could do. We could come up with a list of questions for each of the minor arcana that asks you something about a character or situation or your past, and you have to answer it to get through it.
Do we come up with... So there's a few different ways we could approach this. Do we come up for each of the minor arcana? Do we come up for each number but you have to incorporate the concept of the suit in your answer?
Yeah.
Or is it a list of questions specific to each playbook?
Ooh.
And, like, when you traverse the fog, consult your playbook's list of questions and pick one that, like, say you haven't answered this session or something.
Yeah, I like that a lot. And we can also use the same, like, bracketing thing we're using for the suits for, like, how many words you get if we need to, like, trim down the number of questions we're working with, right? Like, especially if we're doing it per playbook.
Possibly. I do like the idea of giving players the ability to kind of, like, riff with their answers and like we are making a map, but we're also defining this world. Like, that's the idea, right? You're answering questions, and in doing, like, the act of answering the question is mapping the world in a different way, right?
Yes. Yeah.
You're telling about your own history, but it's how that history then integrates into the world around you, right?
Yeah.
Like, so, for instance, Cups is wilderness. You've hit the 7 of Cups. Answer a question about, like, tell me about a time when you were a child and you discovered a place like this. You know, that type of thing.
Yeah.
You know, you're in coins, like, you know, what's your, you know, how do you get a good deal at a shop, etc. and so forth.
Yeah.
And
I think the smaller numbers are, like, easier questions.
That makes sense. Yeah, they're harder questions. And, like, more personal questions.
Yes.
The higher it goes. Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah, I like that a lot. It does need to be, because if the idea is that, like, over time, the fog gates shift from guarding the minor arcana to becoming part of the world tendency.
Yeah.
There has to be a reason, like, why I can't just simply answer them, right?
Okay, yeah.
So are you maybe expending a resource to answer a question? And you have to expend more of that resource the, like, bigger the question is?
Probably, yes.
Okay.
I guess this is what I mean when I say, like, do the numbers matter, right? Like, we have to find a way to... It needs to mean something to be answering that question. Like, answering a question is a very easy thing to do, right? But, like... Yeah. There also
even if it's a quote-unquote hard question for your character, or it's a question you have to sit and think about for a second as a player, it's not a challenge in the way that, say, fighting a monster in D&D is, right?
Yes, yeah.
So there needs to be some limiting factor why you can't just trivially break all fog gates all the time.
Yeah.
My first thought would be that you have a resource, and the name that jumped to my mind to call it is how much spool you have. Basically, like, you know, how much thread you've got spooled within you, right?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And say this is say it's 100, right? But each time you traverse a fog gate, you subtract its number from how much spool you have.
Yes, absolutely.
And if you're at 0 spool, or you don't have enough spool for it, you cannot cross that fog gate.
Yeah, or you need to find a way to... Yeah, and then we'll have, like, ways to re-spool.
Exactly. And see, you said re-spool, and it made me smile. Yeah. And that you know, thematically works in the thread spinning of it, right? Yeah. Back in the guild, the thread spinner is churning out more thread for you to use.
Yes.
But you're taking that thread and you're weaving it through the fog gates.
Yes.
Okay. This game's good.
Yeah. It's gonna be real good.
And obviously, you know, we've talked about, like, bonfire type stuff. That's an obvious part where you re-spool, right? There's probably a move you can... There should probably be one move you can do on each type of square. So, like, if you're on cups, you can scavenge, and that re-spools you, right?
Yeah.
You can, like, hunt or whatever. Or maybe it's specific to, you know, playbooks, right?
Yeah,
like
yes,
a
I think you would
rangery type character
have...
can hunt on a cup square, whereas, like, a merchant-y character can make money in a coin square, right?
Yeah, flip goods or, you know, what have you.
Wherever is, like, your center of, like, what refills you as a person is how you re-spool. Because, again, you're dead. You don't literally need food and water.
No. Yeah. But you need something to keep you composed.
Exactly. You need to keep from unraveling.
Yes. Yeah.
I should write any of this down so we don't forget about it.
Please, yeah.
Okay, each character has a resource called Spool. I'm gonna... maybe 50 is a good starting point for it?
Yeah, sure. Just throw a number down.
Because you should run out of it, right?
Yes, or you should be in danger of running out of it.
You should have to... there should be small enough that you're managing it. You know, you can't just willy-nilly expend it here wherever you want.
Let's call it 50 to start. My only concern is that if you happen to just run into a lot of 9s and 10s and up in a row, but I guess you're only unspooling when you're traversing, right? Like,
well, and if there's a lot of 9s and 10s around, simply go to other decks and like cover them up with other shit, you know?
Yeah.
Like it might even have to go lower than 50. We'll play with it. I think 50 is a good starting point. Yeah.
And then maybe this is why we don't do paired opposites. This is part of the strategy. Like if you see that there's a big one on the board that nobody can get through right now, like you need to be able to put one you get from any other deck on top of it. Perhaps that costs something.
Right. To traverse the fog, spend Spool equal to the... I like that this is kind of bringing in budget from the conspiracy almost.
Yeah.
Or conspirator, rather.
Yes.
Spend Spool equal to the fog gate's value. Are all face cards 10, or do they keep going up? Like, is a king, like, 14?
Ooh, that's a good question. Let's say they go up for now. Okay. Let's say they get big. Yeah, I guess it would be 14, huh? Or would it be?
Yeah, because it's page, knight, queen, king.
Right, there's a page. Right.
Yeah. So king equals 14. Spend Spool equal to the fog gate's value. And answer a question from your playbook based on the number.
Yes.
Your answer must involve the element governed by that card's arcana.
Yep.
When the fog gate is traversed, send the card to the bottom of its deck and draw from the deck it was guarding.
Yeah.
Okay. Cards may be... fog gates may be placed on top of existing fog gates. Does that cost Spool to do?
That's what I'm thinking, right? Like, it doesn't cost to stack it.
I'm replacing a king with an ace. That doesn't seem like it should be totally free.
My brain instantly said half the difference rounded down, but that is like such a phrase that I think is going to turn people away.
my brain just said 5.
5?
Yeah.
Okay. That's going to feel bad. Well, then you wouldn't put it on top of something that, you wouldn't put it on top of something that would be more, or that would be cheaper. It's got to feel bad if you have to put a larger number on top of a smaller number, and that costs you something. So maybe it only costs you something if it is a smaller number than the one under it.
I think it should just do something else if you don't pay the toll, right? So that maybe that card goes to world tendency if you don't place it as a fog gate.
Maybe.
So maybe when you successfully...
when you say it goes to the world tendency, where is the world tendency?
So what I'm imagining right now is I've got the cards laid out in front of me right now. I've got the major arcana, then the array of minors around it. And then I'm imagining off to the side of that, I have got 2 piles for positive world tendency, negative world tendency. Okay?
Okay.
And the reason I side is because we haven't gotten into every idea I have for world tendency right now. We'll get to it in another bullet point or two. But I do keep coming back to flipping the negative pile upside down.
What does that mean?
Well, okay.
Are you talking about... So you're talking about having 2 stacks of cards that represent positive and negative world tendency.
Yes.
Okay.
And the reason I was saying put the negative pile upside down is because this is getting ahead, but we were talking about different levels of zoom. About like, okay, we're on a world map exploring and filling it out, but now we want to zoom into just this one grid square on the world map. Now we're mapping just that grid square, right? And that's on like a new tab or whatever. And now that's like, we went from like the world map of Elden Ring down to Limgrave. And now we're exploring Limgrave, but this grid square, Stormvale Castle. We want to zoom in and just explore Stormvale Castle. Yeah. And now we're in like the banquet hall with like the fucked up grafted guys. We want to just explore the banquet hall. And now from there, we're like, we want to go like deeper and deeper and deeper. And eventually we would come down and we're not exploring physical space anymore. We're exploring the Elden Ring that undergirds the entire reality, right? It's kind of the undertow from Eidolon. But my idea was, once you're at that level, which I just have listed as the Beyond, you don't use the full tarot decks. You use the world tendency you've built up.
I see. Okay.
And you're mapping the Beyond with, like, it is the world tendency, you know? So the more negative cards you have in there. So what I was saying was you flip the negative upside down, you would shuffle them, and you're only drawing from that one deck while you're exploring the Beyond. And if you draw a negative card there, then you have, like, that would be a different set of circumstances tthan drawing a positive card.
Interesting. Okay. I don't know if that's something we're doing today.
Sure.
Because that's pretty big.
Sure. Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do like it.
Yeah. No. I see what you're saying. I don't know if it's really the same kind of map-making thing we're doing right now.
It's not identical, but I like the idea of, like, hey, it's kind of, we're mapping out, like, abstract space now. You know what I mean?
Okay. Yeah.
And, like, the you know, if we were to look at, like, this one arc of the Elden Ring, this is the geometry that defines this room in Stormvale Castle, but also it's part of the entire ring, so the whole Golden Order is infused into this one arc, you know? Yeah. I've been thinking about this.
Yeah. I'm just wondering how to represent that, I guess.
Well, let's circle back, because basically, so what we're saying, fog gates may be placed on top of existing fog gates by paying 5 spool as a start.
Yeah, sure.
5 spool. If not, they are sent to the negative world tendency deck.
Okay.
Stack, let's call it, not deck. Pile. Yeah. If a fog gate is successfully traversed, it is added to the positive world tendency.
I see. Pile. Okay, so, well then hang on. Now that means that you do not put it back on the bottom of its deck.
That's true. What do we think about that?
You're going to run out of cards eventually. Maybe you have to get them back. Maybe you have to map the Beyond to get cards back in the rest of the...
I will say, there's, 14 times 4 is 56 cards. It would take a while.
Yeah, it would take a while. Out. Yeah, you're not wrong.
Yeah.
Depending on how much mapping you're doing, I guess.
Depending on how much mapping you're doing, like, running out would be possible, and there would need to be... I think if you do literally run out, then yes, it is time to traverse the Beyond. Or maybe draw from the Beyond in some way, right?
I think, yeah, I am thinking of this in terms of, like, the entire game is not the map making, right? You are going to have, like, role-playing situations where you are interacting with NPCs and things like that. Like, it's not, like, all just making map.
Totally.
So I don't want to get too far ahead of ourselves on making too many map mechanics.
I hear you.
But yes, I see where you're coming from. And it probably will take a while before you get to a point where you're like, well, I can't draw from a deck. Maybe when you can't draw from a specific deck anymore, that is when some big shit happens, right? Like,
right.
When a suit is exhausted, something happens.
Managing the decks is part of the game.
Yes.
Yeah. I'm just gonna put something happens capitalized when a deck is exhausted. Okay. So I think we've basically got we've got a rough outline for the fog gate idea, yeah?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I'm into it. So then here we go. How do we handle different levels of zoom? How do you zoom in or out? When do you do it? What does that look like?
I think I hate to just say like when the scene calls for it, but it really feels like when the scene calls for it, right? You should be able to zoom in and out at will, I think. I don't think it needs to be a separate like layer of gameplay.
Yeah.
I think you can be in the middle of a role-playing scene and be like, "Hey, actually, can we zoom out for a sec so I can define this other thing?" You know?
I think that makes sense in some contexts. I would say if you're in danger, you shouldn't be able to zoom out.
Oh, yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Yeah. You can't run away from this battle.
Yeah, right.
Or maybe you have to do a draw to zoom out and escape, you know?
Yeah.
I think there should also be some kind of rule. Say maybe if a third card gets stitched to a square, you must zoom in.
Okay, yeah.
Like, if we're wanting to define it that much, then let's fucking define it, right?
Yes.
And let's get in and talk about it with more specificity. Okay. Yeah. And see, part of what I think I sent you this idea of the pitch. Like, I was using, again, is it Irina, the girl from that we were talking about with Elden Ring?
Irina,
who's
yeah.
not the
I think so.
Shibiri Grape girl, but is maybe. Like, you start off in, the lands between, you map it. We stitch Limgrave a couple times. Let's zoom into Limgrave. And now we're mapping out Limgrave.
Mm-hmm.
And we start, like, defining it, and we get the Weeping Peninsula connected by this, like, fortified bridge. Let's zoom into the bridge.
Mm-hmm.
We explore it, we fight some guys, and, we define, we get, say, I don't know, the Queen of Swords in one spot, and someone sort of, that prompts the GM to create Irina, you know?
Yeah.
And now we zoom into the area around Irina. And we, like, stitch, like, say, the Ace of Wands onto her. There's something mystical and strange about her.
Mm-hmm.
Well, now let's zoom into Irina and map the beyond within Irina to, like, find something here. You know what I mean?
I see. So this would be like dredging the undertow, basically.
It's like dredging... It's turning dredging the undertow into... It's dredging the undertow by way of these map-making mechanics. We're mapping the undertow.
Okay. So then would you, like, assign her, like, personality traits based on...
The way I was initially thinking about it was that you would keep it very abstract. Like, this is what I'm just using the word undertow because it's what we're used to.
Yeah.
This is what the undertow is like within the concept of Irina, right? And, there's something fucking weird here, but we can't really tell what it is. And then the GM can you zoom back out to the scene. The GM uses that to inform how they play her and, like, where they take her story.
Okay. Yeah, I can see that. I'm worried it's a little complicated.
Sure.
Because if we're doing that per NPC, that's a lot of doing that.
I don't think it has to be every time. I think it's, I'm picking up a vibe. I want to, dive in here and look around.
Yeah. Okay, yeah. Then in that case, yes, absolutely.
Yeah. And, like, the fact that you've invested that much time and energy into that NPC is what is going to elevate them to being a more important character than, the shopkeeper that you just, like, bought some shit from and left from,
Yeah, perhaps when you do that, she gains a name.
Sure. Yeah. So that's the broad idea I have. So, okay. Should it be 3 stitches causes a zoom in?
I would almost say 2 stitches.
You think what? I guess, yeah, 2 stitches.
Initial card and then 2 stitches.
That is what I meant. Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
yes. Then yes.
Yes. When 3 cards have defined a square, we gotta zoom in and talk about that square more.
Yep.
Okay. And
maybe you aren't necessarily, like, mapping that square anymore. Maybe you are in character exploring that square at that point, right? Like, I mean, the map making is kind of in character, right?
The map making is definitely in character. That gets to another thing I have here. The other bullet point I've got is, how do you transition between exploring using these mechanics and playing out a scene using the Fate deck in the way that we've been playing EIDOLON? How do you shift between the 2 gears of the game?
See, this is why I'm a little like, I don't think we should... I think once you get to the point where you're in a room...
Yeah.
Like, you're not mapping anymore. There's no more mapping to be done, right? Okay. Then you are in the Fate deck portion of playing the game.
Okay. The reason I was going with that was, again, I liked that listener suggestion of, what if you're using the map-making mechanics to define how you investigate a room, right?
Sure. Yeah. But then at that point, you're just like...
You're always mapping.
And then that doesn't make any sense, because then when does the Fate deck come into play?
I would say the Fate deck comes into play if what you're doing is not exploration, it's action, right? Like, if I want to know, what's over that hill, okay, I'm mapping. If I want to take out a sword and attack whatever's over that hill, now I'm Fate decking, right?
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
And to be clear, I don't have a strong, like, I don't know exactly. I'm feeling this out as I talk.
No, totally. I'm just thinking. I'm not judging. I am meditating on.
No, sure. I'm just saying, like, yeah, this is not me being like, here's my pitch. Like, no, I'm thinking as I go.
Yeah, we're laying down the track.
Yeah.
Because in my mind, I like I said, I don't want it to all be map making mechanics, right? Like,
right.
I think that you're right in that the move investigate needs to exist as a character, like, viewing the room.
Yeah.
Rather than, like, mapping the room necessarily.
Okay.
Because that also is going to be probably too many tabs to keep track of an Excel sheet.
That is a fair point. If every
we
room
cannot
can
get
become a
that
map,
granular.
That gets pretty fucking granular. That's a fair point. And again, there's the sicko in me that's like, yeah, let's get granular with it. But I hear what you're saying.
Yeah, I would not want to get that granular with it.
Yeah.
So I think if you are in, I don't want to say if you're in a building, you're not mapping anymore, because like a castle is I could imagine
if you're in a dungeon,
mapping
you should be mapping.
If you're in a castle, or if you're in a dungeon, you should be mapping. But if you're in a city,
yeah.
Maybe if you're like in a village, that's a little less mapping, you know?
So what I've got here that we sort of jumped past was that I've got like a few different levels of zoom here. I've got the world map, a region, a location, a quote-unquote room, and the beyond. I sort of talked about the beyond. World map, pretty self-explanatory. If I'm sticking with Elden Ring as the model, the world map is the lands between. A region would be Limgrave. A location would be Stormvale Castle. A room would be a room in Stormvale Castle. The beyond is the Elden Ring, you know?
Yeah. I think a room is a step too far.
Yeah.
I think a location is where your characters exist.
Mm-hmm.
And then, like, region and world are where we're mapping.
Okay, so you're not mapping a location.
You could talk me into it, but my gut says that, like, even that is getting to the point where, like, it's a little bit much. If it's a really big city, I could see it. If it's like a small village, I do not.
Well, so to be clear, in the way I'm imagining it, a big city would be a region, right? A location would be a big building in the big city.
Then yeah, then I think we're kind of on the same page then. Like, I think if you're in a building in a city, you don't need to map that.
Okay. I'm trying to think, because on the flip side, though, like, again, I would say Stormvale Castle is a location, and if I'm dungeon crawling...
Well, no, hang on. You said a big city is a region. Why isn't Stormvale Castle a region?
Because I'm saying that Stormvale is a region, and the castle is the location.
Oh, is the castle's the location in the region, and then you would want to Yeah, I mean, maybe
if you're dungeon crawling, like we're filling out grid squares. Is dungeon crawling really not what that's for?
Well then, hang on. Let me put it this way. Then maybe we need to make a separate category that is dungeon versus location.
Yeah, well, yeah. What I'm trying to think about is it possible to have a situation where I think you're probably right that mapping rooms doesn't make sense. That like blowing out a room into its own map is going too far.
Yeah.
Okay, there's part of me that like the maximalism of it kind of appeals to me, but I think that makes sense. I'm trying to think if there is a way for any of these levels though to toggle between modes, right? Like,
yeah.
If I'm on the world map, can I not do like a scene because I'm like we're just sort of around the area of Limgrave and like we whatever? But on the other hand, yeah, can I? Because maybe I should have to. Where in Limgrave am I?
Right, where in Limgrave are you? You're not doing it all across Limgrave. You're doing it at a location at Limgrave. You have to be somewhere.
Right. No, that's true. That's true. So,
because like if you're on a journey, like unless you could say like while we were trekking across this area, if nobody wants to zoom in, you can totally do like a scene on the overworld, right? Like. If there is no action to be taken, if you don't want to zoom in, but you still want to do some character work, I think there's plenty of room for that. It's just like, it doesn't maybe need to be so codified.
Here's the other question I've got.
Yeah.
If I'm on the world map, RPGs have ways to limit you. You can't, if I'm playing Elden Ring and I boot up a new game, I can't just immediately walk to the mountaintops of the giants,
Yeah, no.
Where if I'm on the world map and what we're talking about right now, that's like 5 moves on the world map, and we're at the mountaintops of the giants. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So there probably should be some limiting factor that stops you from going that far that fast.
Yeah.
So maybe you can't zoom all the way out to the world map.
Maybe you got to have a travel budget.
Maybe like as you travel budget's an interesting idea too. I was gonna say maybe you have to like complete some kind of goal in a region to then sort of like open up the possibility to draw on the world map to get to the next region.
Right, so-and-so thing in this region will not allow you to progress beyond this region. There is the video game ass thing where there is like 3 guards standing in front of the door that goes to the next zone, and they're not moving until you satisfy a requirement.
That or like fucking Sir Gideon Ofnir says, you cannot zoom out to the world map until you show me a great rune,
Yeah.
And how you get that great rune, that's not my problem, but it's going to be in this region, fucker.
Yep. Yeah, for sure. So I think maybe that is part of maybe the thread spinner cannot go that far until XYZ thing is accomplished,
Right, we have to define the tapestry here before we can start weaving it out there,
Yeah.
Okay. So I think the world map is maybe sort of a special case where you're really just you're exploring a region that gets broken down into locations. So really we're just on 2 real levels here, right?
Yeah, maybe a third if you want to do a dungeon, Or maybe that, no. The location is a dungeon. We've already done this.
Right. Now, if world map's going away as like more of a thing, then we come back to rooms. No.
No, we are not.
No, I think that solves the problem of like I was saying, right? You're exploring a room. Okay, what the whole point was that this room was empty. Why am I drawing like 4 face cards here? What does that mean?
Yeah.
Do we... Here's another question then. How much does the level of zoom matter at all at that point? Should it... Well, it should matter, yeah.
Yeah, it does matter.
Because I want to be able to say, this is, like... next to this swamp is a mountain, but I also want to be able to say next to this laundromat is a casino,
Yeah.
And those are like different scales. There should be a two main scales. I think that makes sense.
Yeah.
That makes sense. Okay. Lost my train of thought.
Yeah,
or like
and then
my train of thought reached the end of the line, and I'm checking the train schedule to figure out what train I'm getting on next.
The other thing is, like, perhaps the thread spinner says you need to explore this many things or this many times before we move on to the next thing, you know, like...
The thread spinner sets some kind of goal for you.
Yeah.
And you cannot zoom out to the world map until that goal is completed. And then once you zoom back in, you have to complete a new goal before you can zoom out again.
Yeah.
Because we can allow for... Again, we don't have to be Elden Ring, literally, about this, right? It could be... Okay, we're out on the world map. Let's go 10 squares. Let's go to, like, the other side of the fucking world and then zoom in, right?
Yeah.
And, like, we can always backtrack and define those regions we just sort of blew through later.
Yeah, or you come up with a reason why you were moved so far away without having to interact with those spaces.
Right, there's like a road that goes through all that spot, and you were just road tripping for a while.
Yeah, you didn't really stop to explore. It's a long ride. You wanted to get it over with, etc.
Yeah, we could allow that, or we could say, okay, which direction are you going next? Great, here's the region you're exploring. I think there's also merit to doing it that way. Of being like, no, exploring is like arduous work. You know, you have to weave the damn tapestry. You know.
Yeah.
So yes, define that, because that also plays into something we did talk about wanting to capture in Dark Souls. If we have our gang of freaks that we've defined during session 0, right? We want a slow build up towards, like, by the time you meet the first freak, you kind of forgot about him, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, you see the name pop up and you're like, oh shit, right.
Right, that guy. Oh shit. Yeah. Okay. So, let's see. Game always begins at Thread Spinners Guild on region map.
Yeah.
The thread spinner sets a goal for the party. The world map cannot be accessed until goal is completed.
Yeah.
When world map is accessed, players map out one square in any direction and immediately zoom into that square as a region map. The thread spinner sets a new goal, and play continues.
Yeah.
Goals are multi-session. Mapping the entire world is very slow. That make sense?
Yep.
Okay. So let's see. If you are not in danger, you can always zoom out from a location to a region. You can always zoom in from a region to a location. If 2 cards are stitched to a location, you must zoom into it and map it. Because basically, if I'm on the region map, right?
Yeah.
Each square is a location.
Yeah.
And if I'm on the world map, each square is a region.
Yeah. Yes.
And that's, and again, if I get what you're saying, I think you've convinced me, but the way I was thinking of it, if I'm mapping a location, each square is a room, but we don't need to zoom into the rooms.
Yeah, we don't need to zoom into the rooms. That's okay. That is enough space that, like, you can map that in your brain. I think that is fine.
I think that's fine too. Yeah. Okay. Can you? No, because that starts to introduce more things. I was gonna say, can there be something like this game's version of Investigate still draws from the minor arcana, but instead of mapping, you draw something, but no. But maybe you do use the minor arcana in investigating, because it is still mapping in a sense, right?
Yeah, I can totally see that.
Yeah, we can think about that. I like the idea of, like, making the line between, like, making it not two fully distinct modes, right? There's sort of like a blurry line between whether I'm acting or mapping, you know?
Yeah, I think it's a good idea to, like, have... God, what was I about to say? To have, like, distinct modes of play, but also, like, when you are in the Fate deck section, there should be things that you do that cause you to draw a card from a minor arcana deck. Or there should be things you do during the mapping time that maybe you need to draw a major arcana for.
Draw a major arcana. Yeah. Okay. Yeah, and because I think it should be very easy for things to slip back and forth between them, right? Especially, like, I'm in a square. I don't want to leave this square. I don't want to stitch to add detail to this square. We've established a detail that I want to interact with, and that's when the Fate deck starts to come into play, you know?
Yeah. What if the Thread Spinner draws Major Arcana to help set your goal?
I like that a lot. Yeah.
I think that would be a good way to incorporate it into, like, the mapping shit.
Yeah.
And, like, either, like, the Thread Spinner chooses from a spread, or, like, the party chooses from a spread to decide what the goal is.
Yeah. I like the idea of having a lot of, like ritualization, especially for the Thread Spinner, like, giving the GM, like, a script to read from certain segments of, like, you know, like, start a session by saying, like, these 3 lines to establish the mood or something, right? Like, you know, I haven't written it down, so this is not going to be as elegant as it is in my head, but something along the lines of, okay, we've all sat down, we've all gotten the giggles out of us, session starts, I've hit the record button, right?
Right. Yeah.
And the Thread Spinner starts with just, like, I'm almost thinking about the Great Alzara from Blueprints with this, right? Of, like, you know,
with the dropping
once again,
of a coin.
You found yourself sitting around a campfire without fully remembering how and when you got here. Whoever's next turn it is, I'm drawing a Major Arcana card to ask you a question about your backstory to start us off, you know?
Yeah.
And then we proceed into mapping from there.
Yeah. Hell yeah.
I think this is a start. And I think there's maybe gaps to fill in or things to adjust, but it is a foundation that we now have something to bounce off of while building out other systems.
Yeah, this looks like a thing we could play a little bit.
You could kind of play this a little bit. Yeah. This might come together faster than we think it will.
This is going to be the coolest game ever, is all I'm saying.
It's going to be so good.
It's pretty much going to be the coolest game in history.
Hell yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I didn't think about this last time, but since this is on, the public feed, or it will be next week, we should probably talk about the Patreon briefly.
Oh, yeah.
Patreon.com/EIDOLON playtest is where you can go to support this show. I guess that name, yeah, I think just for branding simplicity, we're always going to be EIDOLON Playtest, and this is just going to turn into, like, EIDOLON Playtest presents Thread Spinner Playtest. You know what I mean?
Yes, for sure.
I can't change the URL slug on Patreon,
no,
you know?
And, like, the thing is, if we were not anticipating this becoming what it has, or, like, us making more... Maybe you anticipated us making more games than that, but it was never, like, something I thought of when we decided to do EIDOLON, right?
I certainly wasn't thinking about it in 2020. You kidding?
Yeah, no, I was not.
It took me until, like, 2022.
Yeah, and then we were like, I guess we should, like, make a name for what we're doing.
Right. I know some places will, like, just make a separate Patreon for that stuff, but A, I don't want to, and B, I don't know. Like, I'm thinking of this with, like, I forget what the Rude Tales sci-fi game. Those Stars of Space. They have, like, separate feeds, separate Patreons for both of those shows.
Nah, and that's too much for me.
I wouldn't want people to have to subscribe to us twice.
Yeah, no,
also,
I think that's just a little rude.
Also, we can't produce that much, you know?
No,
they do that because they make, like, 1 episode a month.
Yeah, no.
I think they're more frequent now. It doesn't matter.
Doesn't matter. Fuck
but yes, Patreon. You know what Patreon does matter? It's patreon.com/EIDOLON playtest, where
that's right.
You can listen to all sorts of stuff. This is, unless something really fucked up happens again, this was the last time you're going to hear a design session on the free feed for a pretty long time.
Yes.
So if you want to keep listening to us as we, map out what Thread Spinner is going to be.
And I know you do.
Then you might want to subscribe at the $3 level, because that's where this show usually lives.
Yep. We were just excited to talk about the thing we're doing, and we needed a little bit of content for the main feed, so...
That's absolutely true. If you're listening to this in the free feed, you could be listening to the second episode of Eidolon Island right now.
Yeah, that's true. It is available on the Patreon for $1. That gets you early episodes. Every week there is a new episode on Mondays of something or other.
Yep.
It will mostly be roleplay sessions, but, you know.
Yeah. $3 also gets you the music podcast, Eidolon Playlist. I guess we'll have to talk about how that's going to work once we're not doing Eidolon anymore.
That's true, or we just find a different thing to do.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, all of us just like music. I don't think it'll be that hard to keep that.
Yeah. Look, that's a conversation for another day.
Yeah.
But yes, there will be some kind of bonus podcast there, and for the foreseeable future, it's Eidolon Playlist, a music podcast.
Yep.
I think the Lonely Island one is also going to be hitting on the free feed, but in the future, those will live back on the $3 tier. Mm-hmm. On the $5 tier, you get early access to every draft of the games we make. It'll probably be a minute still before there's a thread spinner draft available, but it'll when it hits, that'll be the first place you can get it.
It'll be pretty cool.
Yep. And then on the $10 tier, you get access to whatever random bullshit we feel like doing that month. Right now, there's a new show in the works called The Tower, which I'm not involved with, so I'm just going to leave it mysterious.
Yeah, I'm on the first one of those. It's fun.
Yeah, you're
You'll
on
like
the first
it.
episode of The Tower. $5 also gets you sometimes your name shouted out. I don't read all the names because there's too many.
Yes.
But I pick 25 at random every week, and I'm going to read some right now.
Oh, yeah.
Big ol' thank you to Victor 3000, Orchid T, Himajoshi Flannery, Bubblegum Pumpkin, Amber Weaver, Kyanite Gem, Alice Miller, Arth B, Bug Olson, Ace Warlock, Ren RCS, Control Salt Delete, Mark Anderson, Fire Princess Reviews, Does Not Compute, Queer Computer Al Pussy Emporium of All Time, Fading Cross, Servine Cunt, Frank, The First Four Notes of Megalovania, Kevin Lynch, Liliana S, Spades Gaming, Cancakes, Snev Robin, and Take Heart. And now I'm going to double-check the list of name substitutions people have sent me that I forgot to double-check this list against, because I normally don't do it live, and make sure I didn't accidentally say someone's name that I'm not supposed to, and then in which case I'll have to retake that.
Ain't that the way?
I don't see one. I'll double-check it before I release the episode.
Yeah, that's fine.
But yeah, that's an episode, I think. It's so hot in here.
Yeah, it is hot down there, I bet. So you should.
It is presently 98 degrees in Texas, and I've got a door shut.
Fuck that.
And I'm locked in a room with a PC computer.
Hold on, let me check my Seattle weather for you.
I'm so sweaty.
It's 65 right now.
Go fuck yourself.
I'm gonna open the window when we're done here.
I hate you.
Well, listen, you have central air. I do not have central air.
I hear you.
I assume you have central air anyway. I know it doesn't make it. Listen, I know. I was in it. Okay.
Yeah.
Hold on. Let me check my hometown weather. Yeah, it's 80 down there right now. It's not great.
Yeah, shut the fuck up. How about?
Well, it'll be 90 down there on Monday. So whatever.
Okay, it's 98 here now.
Yeah, I get it. Anyway, I'm not gonna try to keep doing this. End this podcast.
I'm probably gonna get up to like 110 in August.
The day I left my hometown to move up here, it was 108 degrees. It was not a good day.
Okay, yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right, let's get out of here.
Okay, bye everyone.
Bye.